If you're learning and not getting better, well, what's the point really? Learning, it is about knowledge transfer. When it comes to in-person training, definitely engagement is essential. When people are not engaged, they're not going to learn.
What is the areas that people either are struggling with the most, and where do they want to get better at the most?
People are struggling with levels of pressure, anxiety, stress, and they want to know how do they deal with it. There is no perfect approach. It is a constant work in progress. It's a constant evolution.
A lot of the problems you have are internal, not external.
I agree. Internal is definitely the first stage. Accepting that you're going to fall off the wagon every once in a while, that ironically that helps you get through and helps you stay on your path. People are complex and everyone wants the same thing.
Sami Khoury is a mindset coach, sales trainer, and founder of Mind Resilience Training, a learning experience hub specializing in equipping teams with the science-based leadership and resilience skills for today's dynamic corporate landscape. In this episode, we dive into the art of group learning, why unlearning is so hard, and how trust, empathy, and authenticity fuel real transformation. Did you know that 44% of podcasts stop after episode 3? So that means all that time, energy, and money is just wasted, and you never get to truly see the benefits of podcasting. So if you want your show to stay alive and healthy, you can book a call in the link below, and let's get started today.
Thank you so much for having me, Khaled. I'm excited to be here and to dive into some fun topics.
Absolutely, man. So the first time, Sami, when we spoke, a lot of our conversation was about mindset, right? Yeah. About fixed versus growth, the different areas that you can have fixed mindsets and growth mindsets. That was the majority of our conversation. But what I wanted to do today, so guys, for people who don't know, Sami is I guess I'd call you a trainer, and you're like, how would you describe yourself actually?
You know, that's a great question, because I personally have trouble assigning one label to myself. So I mean, I would just mix it up: trainer, teacher, coach, guy who likes to give unsolicited advice. So. Yeah, I mean, in my profession, yes. I would label myself as a trainer.
As a trainer, yeah. And so his company is called Mind Resilience Training, guys, and he works with corporates and big teams and uses a lot of science-backed neuroscience techniques and methods to help teams, build relationships, be more productive, and also I think leadership as well. Now is another area that you work on too. Yeah. So what I wanted to do today is dive into the work that you're doing and all that, because I've had so many conversations recently on the podcast about leadership and what it means to be a leader and a manager. But I think our conversation today will go to a deeper level, more on the scientific side of why those things play out the way they do.
Yeah, for sure.
But before we dive into everything, Sami, just give all of us a little bit of background about yourself, and we'll take it from there.
For sure. So I'm Sami. I'm the founder and lead trainer at Mind Resilience Training. And Mind Resilience Training, we are a learning and development company. And we design and deliver training programs that focus on leadership training, soft skills training, employee coaching, and the value that we have, the value that we bring, our platform is really bringing in the science into these training programs. The science such as psychology, neuroscience, brain science, behavioral science, social science, all of it. And it's really about understanding what makes human beings tick. How does the brain influence our thoughts? How does the brain influence our emotions? How does the brain influence our behavior in different situations, whether in our professional life or our personal life? And for me, this really came out of a philosophy that when you understand yourself, when you understand how your brain and body work, you can then hack into yourself. You can hack into your brain. You can hack into your body. Because
you have the manual now.
Exactly, you have the manual. You look at the research that is out there to how our brains and bodies work, and you hack. So when you hack into your brain, you can hack into it for drive, for motivation, for confidence, for fearlessness. This is a large part of it. And at the same time, you can hack into the brains of the other people that you are dealing with and working with, because no matter who you are, no matter what your position or role is, you have to work with other people.
Yes.
And that involves several things. It involves building trust, building a connection with them, collaborating, influencing, getting them to buy into your great ideas. And so that involves understanding more about the human brain and the mind and what makes people tick.
So on that point, because you're bringing science into this, right?
Yeah.
Now I can imagine there are, when you're doing your workshop, people are split into two different camps. I think there are people who are who think the neuroscience aspect is what is motivating them to want to understand this. There's one side, and then there's the other side that doesn't really care about the science aspect, but more they just want, just give me, I don't care how you do it, just give me the result. That would be my perspective. What have you found when you're presenting in terms of feedback, when you're talking in, let's say, you're bringing the science into that?
Yeah, for sure. So from what we've seen from the feedback from participants and the profiles of the people that we're dealing with, you have different motivations to learn this stuff, learn this about this research, about this fascinating knowledge that is out there. And the motivations are, they can be simply, well, I want to get better. I want to get better at my work. I want to get better at my communication. I want to get better at dealing with people. I want to level up. So if the science is going to help me level up, then yeah, sure, I'm into it. I'm ready to learn. And like you're saying, there are people who are more interested, and they say this in the surveys. Whenever we send out a survey after a workshop, we get the same feedback every time, which is, I want to learn more about the science. I want to learn more about understanding myself and my mind. I want to learn more about understanding other people. So there are these different motivations, but generally it is about, well, I want to level up and I want to learn more about the science that's out there.
Okay, so let's say now because I want people to get an understanding of how you work and what a session would look like. So I know first of all, it's a program. It's not just like one workshop and then you leave, which I've learned because I've taken thousands of online courses, workshops and stuff. I've completed some. There's a lot I didn't complete, So my question is always that change takes time.
For sure.
So you need multiple sessions. You need time. You need a session. And like you said, that break for stuff to sink in so I can reflect and then come back to you with more questions and new stuff. So if I came to you, I'm like, okay, Sami, I want to hire you to work with, to give a training program to our business. What does that process look like for you? Yeah,
for sure. So we offer a variety of training modules related to leadership, soft skills, employee coaching. This includes the science of resilience, the science of emotional intelligence, negotiation psychology, science of selling and customer psychology, which is it's a lot of fun. It's fascinating stuff. Agile leadership, building teams that are optimized. So a lot of the as a learning and development company, obviously you have to cater to the needs of your client. And so it can be a variety of different types of workshops, online versus offline versus in person, full day, half day, bite-sized learning. So you have 2 hours learnings that happen every week or so. So the beautiful thing is that there's a lot of flexibility that you can provide in this space. So for the when it comes to how do we deliver a workshop, and it basically involves 3 key steps.
Okay.
Number one is what's the science? What's the science out there, and related to many different areas. Number 2 is how is it relevant to the workplace? Why do we need to know how our brains work? Why do we need to know how we process emotions? Why do we need to know where emotions come from? Because when you're in the workplace, obviously it's very stressful. There's a lot of pressure. People are more sensitive than they appear. So we want to know, why is it important to understand this science, this brain science in the workplace? That's the second stage. Then the third stage is actually applying and implementing this, which it gets very exciting with doing role plays, through giving feedback, conflict management, pitching, and also group discussions, debates, individual exercises, reflection exercises, group exercises, teamwork. So it's those three key stages: understanding what's the science that's out there, how does this science apply to enhancing performance in the workplace, and then the third stage is, well, let's actually apply and practice all together. And it's always a very fun experience. You get there's a lot of energy, a lot of engagement. You get laughter. Sometimes you get crying. So it's really, it's a great learning experience.
Yeah. And so when you talk to, I think I love when you get that feedback and you see someone have that like light bulb moment of like, I learned this and I applied it and this, like, it changed, the thing that I was promised happened, you know what I'm saying? And that just reinforces your motivation to continue this and whatever. But as you know, in any training program, one of the most challenging things is keeping me engaged, right?
For sure.
And keeping me motivated to finish that course.
For sure.
And I know from your smile, I'm like, that's what's the science of that? The science of keeping that in. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. So so now that the conversation can go in either direction, which talks about the importance of in-person training and live training, and what's coming out about online training, which that's we can talk about both for sure. So when it comes to in-person training, definitely engagement is essential. When people are not engaged, they're not going to learn. When people are not engaged, they're not going to listen. They're not going to absorb the knowledge that they want or that they need. The engagement it's an important part of the learning experience. And what is important to get engagement, both in the online and in-person sphere, it is the energy. It is both the collective energy of the room and the energy of the presenter or trainer or facilitator, whoever is delivering. And again, this can really apply to any field, any profession, any line of work, that when you, as an individual, when you bring out a certain energy, when you have a high energy, the people's brains and people's ears have no choice but to connect their antenna to your antenna. It's like, oh wait, this guy's
he's at level 2. I want to be at level 2.
He's at a higher level. What's going on here? At the very least, there is curiosity when you come at that higher level. So there's a technique that I call the plus 10% rule, which I encourage all of us to use. Again, it can apply to any situation. When you want to connect with someone, you want to get somebody excited about the work that you're doing. So it's basically, it is about, first of all, understanding where they are, the individual that you're dealing with, that you're working with, your counterpart. You want to understand what energy level, where's their energy at? Because their energy can be anywhere from low to high. So the first thing you want to do is you want to match their energy level. That's step number 1. Step number 2 is, after you match their energy level, you want to have an energy level that is just 10% above where they're at. Because again, they can be anywhere on the spectrum. So no matter where they're at the spectrum, even if they have low energy and you're at that same level as them, or even at a lower energy than them, they're going to be like, oh, this guy, he's bumming me out. I'm not too excited about what he's saying. But at the same time, again, no matter where they're at on the energy level spectrum, if you are at an energy level that is too high for them, they're going to be overwhelmed. They're like, oh my God, oh, this guy's too much. Oh, I can't handle him right now. So energy is important. You want to find the individual's level of energy. Just go 10% above that. Your higher energy level will get their antenna moving towards you. And then this, going back to the training, this also helps cultivate the energy of the room collectively. And as we know that energy is contagious, emotions are contagious, And that's also, research shows that your emotions are contagious no matter what they are. So
Yeah.
again, whether you're a trainer or you're delivering a presentation or whether you're in a meeting where the stakes are high, you need to get buy-in, your energy levels matter and
Yeah.
are contagious.
I think I'm so happy you brought up energy level, because I think that's an area that maybe is not talked about enough. And I think this applies so much to selling, presenting, negotiation. Sami, you speak a certain way. Yeah. I'm Khaled, I speak a certain way. Yeah. And we have, let's say, a baseline energy level that we live on, right?
Yeah.
But that, to your point, let's say our maintenance is like 5, and then you go into a meeting and that guy's at a 2. You can't come at him at a 5. You know what I'm saying? You have to go down to 2, because that's how you, like we say, it's emotions. I love that plus 10% thing, because it's about matching you. But let me just come. Let's just bring it up a little bit. But it's so. Sometimes the smallest differences make the biggest impact. For example, a couple months ago, I had a meeting with a client. Didn't get the client. All right. And I was reflecting. I'm like, what did I do wrong? Then I had a communication coach on my podcast who's actually my communication coach till now. Nima, love you, shout out. And what I learned from her was, this is one thing she really talked about. She's like, Khaled, it's not just about putting yourself in their shoes in terms of what's important to them. It's also about matching their energy. Yeah. So when I went into my next meeting with a new potential client, I got them. And I didn't change much. It was very minor tweaks, but it makes all the difference. And I think that's something people don't talk about enough.
Absolutely. And of course, I agree with everything that you're saying. And if I can also just add a little extra tidbit to help those of us who are listening and watching who have trouble getting their energy up. One thing is to focus on your diaphragm, which is the area under your rib cage, and to feel that your voice is coming from this area. Because most of us, we either talk from the top of our chest, which gets a little bit like high-pitched and hard to control, or we talk from our belly, which then becomes kind of like a low energy vibe, a low energy volume. You want to feel that when you are speaking, that your voice is coming from your diaphragm, right under the rib cage. When you feel that you're speaking from there, that is when your energy, with the way you speak, that's where it comes out in a more impactful way. So that's just a little technique.
On this technique, how do I, for someone who's, let's say, watching it, wants to like, okay, how do I know where I'm talking from usually, and how do I train this? What advice do you have for that?
Yeah, it's really just a feeling. I mean, you just have to have a certain self-awareness about the way that you talk, your body language when you're speaking. Are you slumped over? Are you slumped, down in the seat? And you just have to feel where it's coming from, and then try to redirect your own energy, if you will, from your diaphragm. It's something very personal that you have to find it yourself.
Fair. And I think the point, the word there is self-awareness. You need to train yourself to realize, how am I moving? How am I talking? How am I presenting myself? Coming back to the training. So we've talked about the energy level, which I think is super important. Yeah. But one thing we haven't touched on is, as you know, better than anyone, that people learn differently.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I learn better from live experience. Sometimes I learn better from listening, from watching, from 100%, reading. 100%. So, and when you're training a collective of people, it's like the challenge I would find is, how do I create a program that has enough of each to keep, a bit of reading, a bit of audio, a bit of watching, a bit of live action, to make sure that I'm providing enough learning tools or vehicles that will cater to the different ways people are typically learn in this group.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge to address the different learning behaviors of the participants when you're dealing with a big group. Because as you said, different people learn differently. There are different channels of learning, through visual learning, auditory learning, speaking, writing. Writing is it's one of the big things, and this is always the first brain fact that I give for all my workshops is take notes with a pen and paper. Because research shows that when you take notes with a pen and paper, your brain is a lot more likely to register what you've written and remember what you've written. Additionally, you are more likely to carry out and achieve whatever task or activity you want to set out, whether it's go get the groceries, whether it's work on this presentation, whether it's, hey, remember to be nice to this guy that you don't really like. When you write it down, your brain will remember it better and you are more likely to carry it out.
Is it because you're more focused?
You're more focused.
Sorry to interrupt, by the way. I'm just curious.
It's because you are more focused, and because when you're writing, technically speaking, you're taking the time to write. And when you take the time to write, you are strengthening the neurons, the mental muscles of the brain, which have a large influence on the way we behave, the way we think, our characters. So when you're writing, the neurons are getting activated a lot more. Mm-hmm. So yeah, going back to the group learning, ideally, I try to incorporate all of these elements. Speaking, I call people out. I'm like, hey, if nobody's going to participate, I'm going to start calling out names.
Yeah, like school days.
Exactly. Triggering debate, role-playing, which is on the movement side, reflections, which is writing, doing exercise, which also involves writing. So you do your best to accommodate through all of these learning channels, as I call them. When
you look at, because this is a question I just thought of. So I've never been a fan of group learning personally. I'm much personally I like individual learning because I want 100% focus on me, and so that because then the feedback you're gonna give me is gonna be so valuable. That's been my experience. What's the distinction between, I guess, group and individual from your perspective when you're working with people?
For sure. So it's interesting you say that because me personally, I'm a fan of both. I've always loved going to workshops for as long as I can remember. Okay, I like to be part of this group learning experience, the dynamics, the interaction, the drama that comes up.
True.
So I do like the group dynamic, and additionally, I do like the individual learning. Now, when it comes to individual learning, of course, if you have a coach, a personal coach, then for sure you're getting that direct feedback. But then when it comes to individual learning online, there are a lot of drawbacks, and that's whether you're doing individual learning or even online corporate training. It's since the days of COVID when a lot has moved online. Now the research has come out to say, well, actually, online corporate training is not as effective as you think it is from different dimensions, not just one or two.
It's interesting that okay, because I had this thought. I'm like, I want to ask Sami this. What? Because we're talking about learning right now, right? And I'm like, how do you define learning? Do you get what I'm saying? Because is learning knowledge? Is learning because I can learn something and then not apply it? Have I learned?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So that is such a tricky thing to understand because it's not just about new information. Learning has a deeper level to that. What's your take?
For sure. So I would personally say learning, it is about knowledge transfer. You are getting transfer of knowledge from one source to yourself. That's the first step.
Okay.
The second step is actually applying that learning. We learn so we can get better. We learn so we can level up. We learn so we can enhance our performance, enhance our way of thinking, enhance our way of working or dealing with people. It is about getting better. So if you're learning and not getting better, well, what's the point really? I mean, there have been some philosophical arguments. One, from Stoic philosopher Epictetus, he said, well, what's the point of learning something if you're not going to apply it? Then on the other hand, you have philosophers such as Welsh philosopher Bertrand Russell, who says, well, it's actually nice to learn things that you might not necessarily apply, because when you learn, it gives life a lot more richness. It gives life a lot more depth just by simply understanding the world that we live in. Okay, you know, I learned about the sun, and I learned like about the planets, and you know, I actually learned I try to figure out. I'm like, okay, well, why is a planet called a planet and a moon called a moon? Like, why aren't we calling our moon planet moon? Well, it's because for the most part, a planet is anything that has objects orbiting around it because it has intense gravity. But a moon usually does not have a lot of strong gravity, so it doesn't have anything orbiting around it. So that was an interesting distinction. It's like, oh, okay, that's cool to know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to apply that to, I don't know how I'm going to apply that to my work or to my life. But so it's, and you know, me, I like to always, as much as I can, come from a balanced perspective. When you ask me about learning, we learn to apply to make our lives better, but also we learn to understand life and to make life richer, I say.
I love that. I love the two examples you gave, because I was reflecting. I'm like, okay, because I've been doing this podcast now for 5 years. We've done like 200 episodes now. And I'm like, I've learned a lot. But there's a lot of things I've learned that have nothing to do with like my life, like water treatment, like fashion, like this, like stuff that I'm not going to do or I'm not going to pursue. But it's still, the way I would define learning, I think when you said knowledge transfer is, my philosophy is you never know when that piece of information could come in handy. And it won't come in handy in the sense of, oh, you know, I heard Sami, you know, told me this on this podcast and I'm now repeating it to you. But it could spark something on the left that hits like something here, and then it goes there. Like it's the outcome is unknown.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying? And I think for my philosophy, I think it's just learning is, to your point, is about gaining new knowledge, but not expecting like, oh, now I'm going to have a specific outcome from it. Exactly.
And no, I love what you said, because you never know how that piece of knowledge could just add value in your life. Like whether it's personal or professional.
Exactly.
Simply something that's fulfilling.
Exactly. Yeah. And so when people come to you in the trainings from the experience you've had so far, what is the areas that people either that are struggling with the most, and where do they want to get better at the most?
Yeah. So I can only speak from my experience of living here, living and working here. Definitely a lot of it is stress and anxiety. That's for sure. People are struggling with levels of pressure, anxiety, stress, and they want to know how do they deal with it, and how do they alleviate their stress, how do they alleviate the pressures in their life. And you know, it's understandable and it's natural to experience these things. I mean, it's part of the human experience. Life is not easy. Life is not straightforward. I mean, I just turned 40 and I don't believe in straight lines anymore. So it's understandable that people are experiencing that. And of course, there's different techniques when it comes to alleviating your own stress, perspective change, empathy for yourself, compassion for yourself, empathy and compassion for others, a certain level of acceptance. This is more on the intern, let's call it the internal world, the mindset.
Exactly.
Then there are things in the external world that has to be applied as well. Setting boundaries, voicing your concerns, sharing your voice, sharing your ideas, putting routines, frameworks in place, understanding the type of lifestyle that you need to better maintain your balance, maintain your calm in the face of inevitable challenges. There will always be challenges. There will always be setbacks. There will always be obstacles that come at you. So it's how do you set yourself up so that your energy is good, your mindset is good, your physical health is good to address these challenges. And I say that because a lot of the time people come and they might have a problem with a certain person, a family member, a colleague. They might have problems at work, structural changes, changes in direction, things that are beyond their control. And they come at it with, how do I solve the problem at hand? Which is also important. You know, there has to be a balanced approach, which is, okay, I'm going to do what I can that's in my power to solve the problem at hand, whether it's how do I speak to this person to address my concern and get them to collaborate with me. How do I pitch myself? How do I show my value in the face of an organizational change and organizational shift? That's in the external world. Then it is also in the internal world, that how do I have the right mindset? How do I have a more empowering mindset as opposed to victimized mindset?
Yeah.
There is no perfect approach. It is a constant work in progress. It's a constant evolution. And we have to evolve and adapt to whatever journey we're on. I'm on a journey, you're on a journey, they're on a journey. So it is really about, it's a constant evolution and work in progress.
The fact that you said stress and anxiety doesn't surprise me, because I think that is, and I don't know, I can't speak, you know, I'm speaking generally, but I know that a lot of people here are very, you know, stressed, and there is a lot of anxiety. What I've learned listening to what you said, I love the distinction you made between the internal world and the external world, and to just build on that. So I've been working for the last 3 months with a conflict coach. Yeah. Okay. And we've been working, and his name is Klein. Shout out Klein. Love you too. What I've realized through this experience is, first of all, a lot of the problems you have are internal, not external.
Yeah.
I before we started working together, and I've done therapy before, I've done all these things, I thought a lot of it was external based, and I would project externally because I'm like, oh, because of this, I feel like this, and fuck you, and this and that. But when you start doing that inner work, number one, it's fucking hard, because you're gonna have to address so many things you didn't know, didn't want to. But once you start seeing progress internally, I've noticed I move different now externally. Like a situation that might have bothered me before, it might still bother me, but now I have a different lens that I can reframe and come at it from. So that's just been my experience. And I know you're someone like me who's like super into like all this stuff too. So I think for people, it's, if you're going to, let's say, Khaled, where should I put my focus? Internal 1,000,000%. That's my perspective. What do you think?
I agree. Internal is definitely the first stage. And that does take work. It doesn't always happen overnight. It takes time. It takes digging and going into depth, like going deep, you know. And I think there's a lot of us that are scared to go deep, scared to see what they'll find. But at the end of the day, if you want to transform yourself, no matter what area of your life you want to transform yourself, the first thing to do is to look at the mirror. Look at yourself at the mirror and to understand, okay, who am I really? What are the sources of my ways of thinking? What are the sources of my triggers? What are the sources of my behaviors? And that requires going deep. And it's not just about, you know, sometimes there's this cliche about, oh, you know, let's go into the past and figure things out. It's not just that. There's an element of that. But then it's like, okay, there's your past, and then there's what you've learned, and how what you've learned has what you've learned throughout over many years, how has that influenced your present day interpretation, the present day way of viewing the world, present day way of viewing yourself, present day way of viewing the different individual challenges, the individual events that happen in your life. And that's the way, and again, this is also shown, there's a lot of research that, and like you're saying, it is the way that you perceive an event, the way that you interpret an event, that is to a large extent building your stress and anxiety.
Could you give us, if you don't mind, could you give us, because I know this, like, I know you're very passionate about working on yourself and growing as a person and stuff. So I know you're always doing deep work. Could you share an example from or a story of maybe a situation that before you like maybe leveled up, you know, evolved to that next level, maybe dealt with it this way, and then once you leveled up, you approached it differently?
Yeah, for sure. So, you know, people always ask me like, oh, you know, what made you get into this like personal development?
Yeah, by the way,
It's just, I can't explain it. I think every time and I've always felt this way, whenever I learn something new or I feel like I've gotten better at some area of my life, I just get a dopamine rush. And it's like, hey, this feels good, you know?
Yeah.
And also there's also like another effect to it where, okay, when I get better, I also like to feel that I'm helping other people and sharing, hey, you know, this has helped me out. I think that you should, you know, you just give it a shot. You never know. So kind of that rush, whether it's I'm getting better or at least I'm helping people as much as I can, that's what really got me on this path. So, you know, again, we all have our characters and we all have our energies and we all like to assert ourselves in one way or another, whether it's in our personal life for fun in a social setting, we're having a conversation at a party, you know, we like to get silly, or whether it's at work, we want to make a point and we want to drive home a certain proposition. There's a tendency to assert ourselves, and we all do it in different ways. I like to do it in my own way. And previously in the past, I felt that maybe the way that I was doing it was a bit insensitive or inconsiderate to not just the feelings of others, but also to other people's perspectives, where it's like, oh no, but you know, this is how you got to do it. Like this.
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah.
And I sensed that, again, it was inconsiderate and it lacked empathy. And so, and of course, you know, after whatever learning, whatever reading I've done, I've learned that, okay, you know, people are more sensitive than they appear. We all have everyone has their own self-interest, and they want to people want to feel heard, people want to feel understood, people want to contribute as well. It's not just all about you, Sami. So just learning that also just shifted my way of being a part of whatever human interaction. That, okay, this is my perspective, you know, it's fun, it's silly, or it's serious, whatever. And then it's also about giving people the space to let them feel heard. I mean, well, what's that classic, the golden rule by Confucius, you know, treat people the way you like to be treated.
Exactly, yeah. But first of all, thank you for sharing that story, because I think that's a very relatable story. I think a lot of us when you were saying that story, I'm like, man, I just got a flashback of movies of like similar situations. In my case, you touched on it a little bit earlier. What has been the biggest, I guess, unlock for me recently is the empathy part. It's in the sense of being empathetic that everyone is on a different journey.
Yeah.
A different journey, different times, you know, because I previously would be like, you know, this is my journey, this is how I do it, this is what you need to do. Why aren't you at my level? You know, I would look at it would be an ego thing. I would look at it negatively, but now I've understood that, oh man, they're just, you know, they're doing that. You already went through that phase. Now they're going through that phase. But that phase triggers you because I was like, I didn't like that phase. I didn't like who I was in that phase, you know? So I think learning to be empathetic has been a big unlock.
Yeah, and I think I would like to add something, what I believe is the source of a lack of, let's call it the lack of sufficient empathy or a lack of sufficient compassion to those that we live and work with and that we are surrounded with. And this is not a new phenomenon, which is naturally we grow up in this world, we grow up in this modern world, and there are lots of images through television, social media, the internet, and we are getting bombarded with these type of images to a large extent that these images are telling us to just look out for yourself. You're number one, buddy. And again, it's not a new phenomenon. These images have been thrown at us for many years since we were young and vulnerable and impressionable. So we keep taking these images in that, I'm number one, like I'm the star of my own movie. I got to make this happen. And when you have that perspective of yourself that has been reinforced by all this imagery from Netflix, MTV, YouTube. I don't know if I can say MTV nowadays. I'm just it's the 90s kid. It's the 90s kid in me. It's like all this stuff. They're saying, but like I'm number one. I'm the most important. Which okay, fine. You want to survive, but that reinforcement of these imagery of these images, which have been done in a very creative and enticing way, we start operating from that place. Yeah. And then this is what I believe is the cause of a lack of sufficient empathy and compassion.
I've honestly, I've never thought of that from that perspective. I've never thought of the external influence on our subconscious and how, because we don't realize it, right? We just live and then we just start acting differently, but you haven't realized when you change, why it changed, whatever. And I never took into consideration the I guess the external factors, like all the points you said. Coming back, we were talking about learning and we were talking about empathy and we've talked about the challenge and change takes time.
Yeah.
What I've realized recently, and I think you agree with this, unlearning is 10 times harder than learning. In the sense, because you have, like, that's what I'm going through right now. I'm having to, with all this like internal work and stuff, you're having to unlearn stuff that you've built up, taking everything you said into consideration from your childhood, from external factors, school, work, your whole life. And now I'm 35 years old and I'm going and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Unlearn 35 years of who you've become. It's fucking hard as shit.
Yeah.
And it takes, and I think this is I think one of the biggest issues when it comes to this work is time. It needs time. I've been doing this work now for the last 3 months. I can only say the last 2 weeks is when I've started to be like, in my sessions, I'm like, oh, I do think differently now. But there is a science behind, to your point, there's a science behind building. I know you talk about positive habits and how, in the work you do, for example, talking about this, because you're asking people to unlearn and re-input new positive habits that are sustainable. How have you found that, and what are the habits you typically want people to carry on, I guess?
Yeah, for sure. So unlearning is definitely a challenge. It's very possible. As you said, it takes time. It takes commitment. Commitment is the important thing.
That's a great word.
Which involves just simply repeating and doing the same positive habit over and over again. And the reason, from what I've learned from a research perspective about why that's hard to unlearn is because, well, when you're young and you're growing up, your brain is still forming. They say that the brain is not fully developed until your mid-20s. And
really? I didn't know that. Okay.
And this is what they say. And through all this time, so the brain is it has neuroplasticity, it has the characteristics of neuroplasticity, where it is flexible. It means it's flexible and it is adapting to the changes and the environment around it. And so during this process, while your brain is developing, you are building connections in the brain. Neurons are connecting. Neurons are essentially the brain's nerve cells, which are connected they're in the brain to everything. Mm-hmm. These neurons, they send messages to your body and they send messages to different parts of your brain. And to a certain extent, they are also considered the mental muscles of your brain. When you get into your car and you drive to work, there is a set of connections, neurons, the mental muscles that tell you, this is how I get into my car and this is how I take the same old pathway to my work. But if you're like me and you're using Google Maps all the time, those neurons aren't active. I just want Google Maps to tell me the fastest way to get there. I don't want. And it's the same thing with when you're presenting. If you are presenting something to your teammates, your body language, the way you have your body, the way you use your arms and your voice, that also involves neurons, mental muscles, sending information. This is how I use my body language. This is how I get the energy up. This is how I use my voice. So why am I talking about neurons and mental muscles? Because going back to unlearning. Because as you are learning for the first 25 years of your life, you are creating and building and strengthening these mental muscles. And I say strengthening because when we are young, the brain is more impressionable and we are more vulnerable. We need those of us who are around us, our family, our friends, our society. We need them to help us grow and survive and thrive. So we take in a lot of what has been taught to us by our family, our peers and friends and all that. So that is involved in the building of these neurons, which essentially, to a certain extent, you're building the foundation. You're building the mental foundation.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
Which is pretty strong. Mm-mm. So then you get into the workforce, you get into real life, and it's like, okay, actually, well, the world has changed since I was a kid. The world has changed since I was just in university, and I'm learning all these business 101 principles that I thought I had to adhere to and I'd be success. Now it's like when I hear a business 101 principle, I'm like, yeah, sure, buddy, whatever. There's more to it than business 101 from the same business books that we've been learning since the 90s. So that's where the unlearning becomes hard, and that's where it is important to start creating new habits, new physical habits in our external world, and new mental habits of the way we see the world, the way we respond to people, the way we communicate with people. And in that process, you're literally creating new neurons. Mm. I mean, I think of it right now. Okay, I know how to ride a bike, but I don't know how to ride a motorcycle. But if I took the time to learn and to learn how to ride a motorcycle, I'm sure I can do it. Mm. And that also takes time and commitment. Mm. And it's even with the unlearning, you're not really gonna fully get rid of whatever negative habits in your internal world or external world. You are simply going to outgrow them. You are going to grow beyond them, to be more accurate. Mm. So you're operating from a place of growth that is beyond these habits that are holding you back, but you still might fall into the habit in a micro way here and there every once in a while.
Yeah, I'm so happy you brought the neurons into it, because in my mind, when it comes to unlearning, I think naturally you think of a disconnect. I want to disconnect neuron A to B because it's fucking me up. But no, it's about layering something bigger and better on top of it so that A and B don't fire as much as they do, or they're not as powerful.
Exactly.
Because I realized, again, working with this guy, is that because I'm like, man, why do I always have these thoughts? Like very commonly, I always have this thought. I'm like, why? Nothing happened. Like, why is this happening? And then through the work and through touching on what you're doing, I realized that there's so much that connection, for example, let's call it, has been refined so much, and so much energy, like internal energy has gone to it, that now it's like instant, So it's like, how do you need to slow that down? You need to build new habits on top. And one thing that I had a Muay Thai champion on the podcast recently, and he told me, because when you look at a champion or you look at an expert, you think, they're invincible. That's what us from the outside we think. They are the experts. They are the all-knowing, the oracles, right?
Yeah.
But what I learned from him is like, champions, bro, are not. We know that we are the top of our game, but we know we can lose. So why am I bringing this point up? In the work that you're doing, you are the expert, right? You are the neuroscience. You're the expert bringing neuroscience into this and teaching people, right? So from their perspective, they'd be like, "Oh, Sami is, he's the all-knowing guy. He knows he implements all these practices in his life and whatever." But I think what you do well is you're humble to the fact that, yes, maybe I have more expertise than you guys in this space, but the expert knows that the more I know, the more I don't know. So do you ever like internally go through that, that struggle, because it's like a balance, I feel, right?
So for sure, I mean, I fall off the wagon just like everyone else. I fall back on whatever negative tendencies. It happens, and in a way, accepting that you're going to fall off the wagon every once in a while, that ironically that helps you get through and helps you stay on your path to wherever you want to go. And yeah, I mean, for sure, I get tested. I lose it sometimes, like with my 5-year-old daughter. I mean, like my daughter, she definitely, she makes me fall off the wagon more than anyone else. I mean, when you have kids, they're really testing. It's like, okay, Sami, are you going to practice what you preach now, Daddy? Are you?
Yeah. I'm so happy you brought up your kids, because I was going to ask you, like, and I asked a therapist this once, because, as a therapist, I go to a therapist, you help me, you have all the expertise. Now you as well, like, if you came, you trained me, you have all the expertise.
Yeah.
I'm like, I was talking about her kid. I'm like, but when it comes to your kid, because she was focusing on child development and stuff, do you apply these things? Can you do it? She's like, Khalid, there's theory, and then there's practice.
For sure.
And they are completely different. So I'm curious in your case, because you have all this knowledge and how the brain develops and all that, and you probably want to implement the right not processes but learnings for your daughters to move through that. Do you find it though, like, I know how, I have all this stuff and I know how to put the framework and I know that, but when it's your kid,
it's definitely a different world when you're dealing with kids. It's different to adult learning, which I'm part of. Which adult learning, you're dealing with adults.
Yes,
where there's a certain level of maturity and understanding and thinking that's been achieved. But with a child, with a toddler, with somebody who's under 10 years old, they're obviously far from that place. So it's again, I've definitely failed at practicing what I preach when it comes to my 5-year-old daughter. It's like, Could
you give us an example for just like a silly story?
I mean, I'm trying to think. It usually involves the pattern is the same, where I'm like, okay, I'm going to be calm and diplomatic and clear communicating. Please, Lily, change into your pajamas. Please, it's time to change into your pajamas. Please, Lily, time to change it. And like I say it so much, and I end up saying it 20 times, where it's like I'm just going to burst and explode. And then it's like, oh man, why did I explode? Why? How?
Yeah.
So it's usually that pattern of like repetitive, kind instructions, but then the repetitive kind instructions don't work, and then you end up raising your voice.
Yeah, I wanted to come on to this because I think to round off our conversation. This is an underlying element that is like a line across everything we've talked about. And that's trust.
Yeah.
All right. And there's 2 different types. And I learned, someone on my podcast told me there's 8 different types of trust. I don't know. I can't remember what they all are, but I'm just going to use this example. Yeah. Because in your case, there's 3 different trust dynamics going on when you're doing the work you do. There's the trust you have individually. There's the trust that they have with you as, the expert. And then there's the trust, their internal trust too. So my question to you is, first, I think, because this is the most important one, how can I trust, the question that comes to mind is, how can I trust other people if I don't fully trust myself?
That's true. And I think that's a very philosophical question. It's a very important philosophical question. And we have to be real, where human beings are, human. And that means that everyone is looking out for their own self-interest. And it is about understanding to what extent are they prioritizing their self-interest over your interest. Now, again, living in this human world, You have to interact with other human beings. There is a communal aspect that is important so that everybody gets what they want. So it does require understanding a couple of things. Whether it is to show other people that you are trustworthy or to analyze the trustworthiness of the individual that you're dealing with. The first thing, the most important thing is credibility. And, if we're looking at it from a workplace perspective, it is, okay, has this guy implemented this guy or girl implemented this project before? Have they actually done this type of work? Okay, so they have, either I work with them and I've seen that, okay, they've implemented this task over and over again, they have credibility, or I'm meeting them for the first time, they're making a pitch, they have their case studies, they've done this before, they have the track record. If also as well, if you're meeting someone for the first time, what research shows is that expertise goes a long way to build trust. So even though you're meeting me for the first time, but if I show my expertise to a large extent, that creates trust. Like, okay, I know that this guy knows what he's talking about. So I'm ready to continue this conversation. I feel good around him. So it's usually about credibility and expertise. When you show that, you can communicate and reflect trust in yourself. And then if you want to see how trustworthy somebody is, it's credibility and expertise. Are they doing what they're saying they're doing? Have they done this many times before? Are they communicating their expertise in a way that resonates with me?
And when you, on the trust point, I think the points you made about the credibility and the expertise are that's like the currency of trust, especially when it's external facing. You might be meeting someone for the first time, like you said. But I heard this once, and it's a question I still don't have an answer to, and it's been years. Is trust black and white in the sense of, can you, because the guy was saying either I trust you or I don't. There's no like middle trust. What do you think about that?
I mean, trust is a very sensitive topic. And if you break trust, it's very hard to put that vase back together. If that vase drops and it breaks and shatters into a few pieces, it's very hard to put it back together. You can put it back together, but then if that vase breaks again, it's going to break into even smaller pieces and many more pieces, which are even harder to put back together. So trust is a sensitive thing. It also depends on the kind of person that you are. And it's about, okay, am I willing to give second chances? Am I willing to give this individual a chance to redeem themselves or to show that, to give them another chance? So is trust fluid? Maybe. Meaning that, okay, in this situation, I know you can deliver, but in that situation, I don't think you can deliver, and I don't think I'm going to rely on you, so don't BS me that you're going to deliver. It's not necessarily black and white, but it's just about applying, where do I apply my principles of trust, whatever they are, to individual situations. That's how I would see it, because again, humans are not perfect. Yeah.
And the point, so this is where, to coming back to the credibility and expertise thing, there's also an argument that you could say that trust, there's a vulnerability creates trust. Like if I come and tell you, like let's say I'm credible, I have expertise, that's fine. But if I come and tell you about Sami, this specific thing, I'm probably not the best guy to do that.
Yeah.
That kind of, see, it's like you said, it's sensitive because I'm being vulnerable, which shows that I'm human, I think it shows that side to it, but that's also maybe might reduce my credibility a little bit, because that kind of because that dynamic plays into, building trust with teams and stuff, because I think that is something that is a very, very common struggle that teams have.
For sure. And when you do put your trust into someone, there is a sense of vulnerability that you have that this person might not deliver, whether it's in your personal life or your professional life. And I am this kind of person, and I think you are as well, that if I can't do something, I'll say, hey, I cannot deliver on this. I can deliver on this part, but I cannot deliver the whole thing. I'm the kind of person where I don't like to say that I can do something and I don't do it. I'm not like that. I don't like it because I feel that there are a lot of people like that. And I feel that there are a lot of people that don't have the guts to say, I can't do it.
Or I don't know.
Or I don't know, or I don't understand. It's like, hey, just tell me you don't understand. It's okay. I'm not going to bite your head off. I'd rather tell me that you don't understand or you don't know the answer or that you can't do it, as opposed to telling me, yeah, I can do it and I do it or I get it. It's when you tell someone that you don't know or you don't understand, you'd be surprised because then you will know. Because then someone will come and say, okay, you don't know or you don't understand, I'm going to help you understand. Or here is some materials to help you get the job done.
Because to build on your point, that you saying I don't know, you saying whatever, from my perspective at least, it actually in a way I could argue makes you more credible, because I'm like, this is a person that's being honest, and honesty, plays into trust, plays into all this. I once heard, this is a great metaphor for trust. It was like, trust is like giving someone a gun. Yeah. Let them pointing it at your heart and hoping that they don't shoot.
I haven't heard that before. That sounds kind of scary.
Yeah, and like, but to me, that was like a perfect symbol of what trust. That's basically what it is. There's always that vulnerability, that risk, but it's how do you not overcome it, but accept it and move forward, especially in a team environment with like the work you're doing and stuff. This is a question. Where do you see what are the elements that add friction to building trust in teams?
For sure, and I will start by just adding something to add to your last thought. So I think also when it comes to building trust, which also a lack of this would add friction, it is a genuine understanding and genuine concern for the needs of the other person, a genuine understanding. And I say genuine understanding because you can also have an understanding, but it will be a very transactional understanding. It's like, okay, I know Khalid needs ABC, so I'm going to give him ABC so that he's happy and he likes me in that way. But if you have and reflect a genuine understanding that, okay, Khalid is in a bit of a pickle, he genuinely needs the support. I want to help him get out of this pickle. I don't want him to feel this way. Okay, tell me what you need. So it's a genuine understanding and showing that you genuinely understand. It's being authentic and being authentic. It is also being an authentic person on top of that. Because again, when we're in the world of work, we can be very robotic and be very let's do 1, 2, 3 and get this job done. Which I also have to say, in certain scenarios, that is important. Yes. I don't want to. Again, it is about taking a balanced view to as much as possible. That okay, I want to be genuine and authentic, but then also I do have to be a bit robotic and transactional, just so we can get the job done, because that's why we're here. So what creates friction? It is, I think, a lack of genuine understanding, a lack of genuine empathy. Not just feeling it, but also showing it, because you might be able to feel it, and but some people they don't show it. They feel it, but they don't show it. But that would also maybe holds them back. Do you really care? Because I can't tell from your body language or from your poker face whether you care about me or not. Okay, I get it. You're an introvert, but just give me something.
I think that's such an important point that you mentioned. I think that is the underlying thing behind all of this, is that genuine, I'm thinking about the other person. I care about what this action, how that might influence the other person. And I think that's everything. That's the beginning. But also to your point, show me. I need proof. We are evidence-based creatures.
Yeah.
Show me, I will believe. You don't show me,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
okay, sure. You know, it's just all nice words. Sami, man, to round off our conversation today, if you know, me and you could sit here and talk for 1,000 hours, be a 10-hour podcast. But just to round off our conversation for today, I just had 3 more questions for you. So first of all, I wanted to ask, you've been doing this work now for the last like 10, 15 years, and you've coached and trained with massive organizations, so many different probably types of people and stuff. Anyone who does the work you do, and I asked this question to my previous guest, the question I have is, what have you learned about people?
Sure, and I would just like to quickly clarify that I've been in the world of personal development for 10 to 15 years. I've just, for the last 5 to 6 years, has been my focus on my training and development business. What do I know about people?
What have you learned about people?
What have you learned about people? What have I learned about people? That's a great question. That people are complex and everyone wants the same thing. That we all want the same thing. There's an underlying complexity because everyone has their own character, personality, their experiences, their ways of viewing the world. So that's what I mean by complex. And simultaneously, everyone wants the same thing. Everyone wants to be successful in their career. Everyone wants to be loved. Everyone wants to connect. Everyone wants to live out their passions and hobbies. Everyone wants to feel a sense of belonging. So here we are all striving for the same thing, and yet there are underlying things that can either support us or they hinder us. But ultimately, it's just remembering that we all want the same thing, and this is why we should treat each other with respect, with empathy, to support one another, because also we cannot live without one another. And this is both from a survival perspective and even a scientific perspective, and also a somewhat spiritual perspective, that we need each other to thrive and to live a fulfilling life.
Yeah. I love that, because it's something even myself that I maybe tend to forget sometimes, that we all, when you said it, like we all want the same things and you listed them out, I'm like, yeah, who doesn't want, who would not want all those things, right? But you also made a good point that as individuals, we are complex. And I had a guest who told me, he's like, Khaled, he's like, simplicity is complex. It's, you know what I'm saying? Like, yes, it sounds simple, but to do it is not, you know? And I think that's, when you said that, that's the thing that like came to my mind.
Absolutely.
Sami, to round off our conversation today, you know what's coming. I have 2 questions for you.
Yeah,
now I'll see, we did this, so we recorded, guys. We recorded, I think it was 3-4 years ago now.
Something like
that. So now when I ask you the question, what are you most proud of for yourself over the last few years? What would you say?
Thanks. I mean, I am most proud of that I feel that I've grown in the way that I want to grow, from a place of authenticity and from a place of being real, in addition to growing my development in my professional world. That's something that I pat myself on the back.
Yeah. Have you seen a link between the more you've grown as a person, the bigger impact it's had on your business?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. When I grow as a person, it does impact my business in the way that I work with people, that I deal with people, the messages that I communicate, certainly, and also communicating the value and the skill set that can be offered.
And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind for people, because a lot of people talk about, you know, when they say personal development, the outcome, everyone says, like you touched on it earlier, I just want to get better. Okay, but there is a genuine, tangible, not only financial, it will affect every area of your life, your business, your family, your relationships, your friends, everything. It will change everything. So guys, my message to everyone is fucking work on yourself. It's the best investment you can make. But Sami, to you, passing it over to you for my last question. What is the message you'd like everyone to take home with them today?
So I'll be honest, I think it was the same message that I gave 2 or 3 years ago. It's just be real. Be real. That's what it is, which is being authentic, being yourself, and developing yourself from a genuine place that aligns with your intuition, with your instinct, with who you are. So I say just be real. Be
real, guys. Yeah. You heard it here. Sami, man, I want to say thank you so much again for coming on the show, man.
Hopefully,
this was an even better conversation from the first time. I can also see how much you've grown as a person, the way you communicate, your answers, the thoughts. There's so much context you brought today that we probably, even on I wouldn't have even been able to ask those kind of questions at that time too. So it's so refreshing and fun to see us both have leveled up over the last couple of years.
For sure.
And for anyone that wants to get in touch, work with you, check you out.
Just mindresiliencetraining.com. You can reach out through there and I'll respond for sure.
Done deal. Sami Habibi, man, thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure. Always.
And hopefully more deep conversations, more insightful conversations for growth in the future.
But guaranteed. Guys, awesome. Everyone listening, thank you so much. Please make sure to like, follow, share, and subscribe to the podcast. I hope it helps. Pod on all channels. And as always, guys, hope it helps. Peace. Habibi, man.
Yo.
And that's another episode in the bag, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, podcasting is like this massive jigsaw puzzle, and my job is to help you find that missing piece. So if you're someone who's looking to launch your own podcast or take their podcast to the next level, you can book a call today and let's get started. TikTok.